Go online to the aa.ie.
Heavy showers or longer spells of rain across Leinster and Munster tonight, the worst of it in the east. Mostly dry and clear elsewhere with just scattered showers in the northwest. Overnight lows of between 1 and 6 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, let's talk Gaelic football. I'm delighted to be joined on the line by Dublin and Ballymun Kickhams footballer John Small. Evening, John.
Hi Nathan, how are you?
I'm very well. Usually 3-4 days after a county final we'd be ringing up and, it might take a while to get a message back because the celebrations will be still ongoing. There'll be a tour of the parish happening. In these COVID times, was it that sort of week or was it a very different kind of week?
Yeah, very different kind of week. It's just as you said, the times that we're in. We got to have a few beers on Sunday night, but nothing too mad. And a couple of us met up on the Monday, and that was kind of the end of it. So it was back to normality then on Tuesday. It was normally, as you said, we'd have a few more days, but not at the moment.
You got 2 days out of it, so compared to the rest of us at the moment, you're doing all right.
Yeah, we're not doing too bad.
And was that very much in a bubble, or could you, was it just the team, the group?
Not even really. Like it said, no, it's really going to take a group of like 40 lads. So you're kind of just meeting up in kind of your groups of like 6 and 7, and you might see someone else along the way. But it's very, very different than what it typically would be,
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And here, after 8 years without a county title, it's one you'd want to celebrate and celebrate right. You can, of course, just take deep satisfaction as well, though, from the performance. I've seen it described as the best county final performance for a decade and a half, at least. It was an absolute demolition of Ballyboden St Enda's. To produce that performance on the biggest day, as a group, when you had those moments in the dressing room afterwards, you must have been able to look each other in the eye and think, yeah, we did all right here.
Yeah, so we set out for the final to win the 4 quarters and to play. We just took it quarter by quarter and to perform as well as we could, but we were aiming, we knew we had the tools and the armory to play that way. We produced it in patches throughout the competition, but it was really, really satisfying, as you said, to play like that in the final. Especially, I thought the first half performance was really top notch, and we were just delighted with it.
Your manager was interesting afterwards, because when you look at the talent available to Ballymun, you're wondering, how was it 8 years since you last won a county title, when the amount of inter-county players that have been so key to Dublin's 5 in a row that are in and around that squad? And listening to your manager, Brendan Hackett, he was saying that the county have got the best out of the players. This year was obviously a very different year for so many reasons, with the opportunity county players had to go back to their club. Did that bring an extra pressure? Was there a realisation among yourself and Dean Rock and your brother Paddy and Philly McMahon and James McCarthy that actually the club hadn't seen the best of you in recent years?
No, it was just really nice that we actually got to go back with the club for a while. Like, we were obviously, with the times we were in, we hadn't had football for whatever it was, 6 months maybe. And when it was decided that we'd go back to the club, we just really enjoyed it. We were training up in Poppentry Park. It was like a public park at the time, so we could train in, and it was just like, it brought us back to when we were being a kid, you know what I mean? Training as if we were like 14, 15. And then we just got it a really strong spirit and within the group, and Brendan drove that, and he was fantastic. And yeah, we were just really fresh coming into it, and there was no added pressure. We just believed that if we played well, we could perform the way we did.
He said it was less science, more fun. And by the sounds of what you're saying there, like out playing in probably the parks you played as a kid, it feels like that. That's a difficult balance for a club manager to get when you are playing senior club championship football and there's an expectation that you should go and deliver of, like, you're an elite footballer, so you want things to be done right, you want things to be taken seriously, you want to go and achieve. So to be able to get that balance of satisfying that need that you have while also making it a bit of crack that you're really enjoying being back with your mates again, he seems to have succeeded in that.
Yeah, like we did, like you couldn't actually do your video analysis and stuff like that, really, like, because you couldn't meet up as a group and in a closed environment. So like we just focused on ourselves and how we wanted to play. We did so much stuff on attacking football. Like Brendan just kept saying that we wanted to, win with style and playing really top football. And we just practiced the skills of the game all the time and game-based scenarios. And we did a little bit on the opposition. We didn't do a huge amount, certainly not to the degree you would think that we did. And that's, I think it kind of worked to our benefit. It suited us as a group. There was probably, as I said, took the pressure off playing like that. We weren't overly focused on who we were playing and just focused on our performance. And we did that, and it ultimately worked out in the end,
How big a role do those senior players who are playing county with Dublin and all the knowledge that you have from being within that high elite, high performance atmosphere for so many years, when you go back to the club, are the conversations different that you would have with Brendan Hackett than you would have had with Jim Gavin, or you might have now with Desi Farrell? Like, is he trying to soak off you as well, what you're learning at county level to bring back to the club, and are the other club players trying to soak that off you as well?
Not really. Brendan has his own style, and he had his own, tactics. He had his own methods of training, along with Ian Robertson, Owen Carroll, Simon Lawler, Barney Rock. So we had a really, really strong management team, and they implemented what they believed the way we should play. Of course, the county lads drive it to an extent, maybe more from a leadership point of view, because we're a really young team. Like, 9 of the starting finalists were under 23, so they kind of would try and learn off you. Actually, the young guys are brilliant for that. They have a real hunger to learn, and but that's the only way. It'd be from a more leadership aspect. It wouldn't be like bringing back this what we do with Dublin, because Brendan has his own way about doing things, and that's what he wanted to implement.
Everybody seems to be raving about this new split season that we've inadvertently stumbled upon, and maybe it'll stay that way for 2021, and that this is the GAA will be forced into a decision that club will get its time and county will get its time. On what Brendan Hackett was saying then about the county getting the best of the players, because how could they not? Because you would spend most of your year focusing on it, and thankfully from a Dublin point of view you've been successful, and you get back in September, you somehow have to try and enjoy the celebrations after a gruelling 4 or 5 months, and then try and get your head into a club space again. How different was it for you actually having a time where you couldn't think about county? It just didn't exist for the last 3 or 4 months, that all you had to do was be in with the club. How different an experience was that?
Yeah, it feeds back to what we were talking about earlier. It's very much like a sort of a feel of when you're a kid or a juvenile playing. You're playing with guys that you grew up with. You're playing with your club. It's very different than playing with your county. Like, I feel for the club, it is very difficult. Like, it has been for Ballymun for the past few years to parachute 6 guys straight back in a week or 2 weeks before championship, and guys been playing there all year, and then there's this big expectation and stuff. Where this year, it's, we're all just started out at the same time, working together, working for the same goal, and it just really paid dividend in the end.
Is it the way forward? Because I know, talking to county players, certainly off the record, like, it does seem at times quite a stress throughout the summer, where there might be the odd club game going on here and there. You're never around. You're at a training session, you're standing on the sideline watching on, that there's this constant pulling and dragging of the county player that suddenly was gone. Like, is this the way it has to be, do you feel, going forward?
I wouldn't say it's the way it has to be. It's for the powers to be to decide. I think it is a fair system on the club, because they are getting, the players that they've nurtured and brought through the system. But as well, I can understand, county is sort of a larger, mechanism, or not than, say, club is. But it's not for me to say, to be honest. But I can understand the arguments from both sides.
Yeah, the one photo that I think was on pretty much all the back pages on Monday after the county final was that collision between yourself and Connell Keeney, and it's almost like a car crash. I don't know how there's not some sort of a broken bone on somebody's face there. When you saw that, was that a collision you remembered that really stood out, or was that just everyday 50-50? Because it certainly looks like it was something a little bit different.
No, I just sense the opportunity. I'm actually
to nail him.
Yeah, it's actually probably one of my stronger points. I'm good at sensing them situations. Look, he was told he couldn't see where I was. You know what I mean? It's a tackle that if he's getting the ball from one side and he nearly turning into me, and I'm kind of running at full speed. I have all the momentum. Like, the chances are I'm going to knock him over. But no, it was. I thought it was a good tackle, and and he took it well. He got straight back up after, so you know, it wasn't too spectacular.
Did you come away with the ball?
I think he dropped it and I just picked it up. But the ref, he was down for a sec. The ref blew the whistle, but he took it well after that. So.
John Giles was on with us earlier. He often talks about an incident, I think in 1964, where somebody caught him quite late, and I think it was 1972. Revenge. He took it upon himself. An opportunity presented itself down by the side of the pitch. An opening came, and he nailed your man. 8 years later, he always remembered. Is there something through the years between yourself and Connell Keeney that you were just sizing up the opportunity? Here's my chance.
No, it wasn't nothing like that. It was just the opportunity to get a good shoulder, and it wouldn't matter who it was. I was going to take it.
Yeah, the victory and the success, and it's been a brilliant year for Ballymun Kickhams. I'm sure tinged in sadness as well for you after the sad passing of your dad last year, Declan. And by all accounts, reading today, even again, some of the tributes around him, he was very much part of the heart and soul of Ballymun. He would have loved to have been there last Sunday.
Yeah, like that was it. That's what the emotion just came over myself and Paddy at the end. It's just the thought that, you know, I can't describe in words how much he loves that club and how much all he wanted to do was to see Ballymun progress and do well. And as you said, like, the performance was so good. I was just thinking what he would do to have seen that, and like the joy that would have brought to him. And that's what kind of, it's quite emotional. But yeah, like, as you said, the heart and soul of the club, did everything for that club. Like, it was just like his second family. So it just was very emotional because, as I said, like, he would have loved nothing more than to see that on Sunday.
Was he part of the club before you were born, or was it you starting out that got him in? So he's been there. Yeah, like with myself and Paddy, I don't think I'd be even playing GA if it wasn't for him. Like, he was bringing us up to, he started off that Ballymun nursery up in Poppins Green or Wadley Green, what it was, and brought us up. And he would have only pushed us to play GA so we could be players for Ballymun Kickhams now. You know what I mean? So he could help progress the club. His love for that club was incredible, and his drive and things like sponsorship to try and help the club just improve and invest in the club, and just ridiculous, and everyone in the club kind of appreciate him. And then that's when the emotion comes out, is when times like that when someone loves something so much but they couldn't get to witness it. So he didn't get to see Sunday, but geez, he must have been incredibly proud of all that yourself and Paddy achieved, and seeing so much that the Dubs achieved down through the years, and you've been such a key part of that. Was it something you ever spoke about?
I know that he loved just watching us play and stuff like that. He probably wouldn't have said it to us, or he would have given us a hard time, a bit of slagging and stuff. Yeah. But no, I know deep down that it made him proud. Watching his sons play in Croke Park and playing representing Ballymun Kickhams as well.
Was he a shouter on the sideline? Would you have known he was there?
Yeah, a big shouter on the sideline, especially when we were younger. When we got older, we probably would have told him, we would have told him to keep quiet or whatever. But when we were younger, he used to shout at us a lot. Yeah, but it was coming from a good place.
Yeah. Did your mum get to go to the match on Sunday?
She did. It was brilliant. She was lucky now. She got it to go to us, and meant a lot to her as well. So.
Yeah. The two of you are still living at home, are you?
Two of us live at home. I just recently bought a house, so I'd be moving out soon enough. But at the moment we're still at home. Yeah,
so she's been delighted to have you for the last year or so.
Exactly.
Particularly with what everyone's gone through over the last 6 months.
Big time. Actually, he was saying to people, COVID's nearly been a blessing because they got to spend so much time together as a family.
Yeah.
In a kind of perverse way, but it's nice to be able to spend so much time with her.
You were so impressive on Sunday that, like, automatically, particularly with Curfin gone, I think people would have been looking at Ballymun as probable All-Ireland champions. There's still a lot of talk that maybe it might happen, that people have enjoyed this experience of club, that it seems in a year where there's more interest in the club game than ever, not to have a provincial and All-Ireland series seems a little bit mad. Would you love a crack at it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'd love to go into the Leinster competition, and if we're lucky enough to get through that, to have a crack in All-Ireland, I'd love nothing more than that with Ballymun. So if it could happen, yeah, absolutely, all for it.
You're back in with the Dubs now, I presume. Are you back in already?
Back in later this week.
Right. So it'll be pretty hardcore from here on in. Obviously, the news then last night that when you do go back in, Diarmuid Connolly isn't going to be there. Decided he is done with intercounty football, announced his retirement last night, and just the last 24 hours have been tribute after tribute to one of the all-time greats of the game. Like, you would have marked him many a time, I'm sure, in club games when he's playing centre forward for Vincent's, and would have marked him, I'd imagine, many times at training as well. Just how good was he?
Oh yeah, Diarmuid's an incredible footballer. One of the best footballers, one of the most skillful footballers, and as well as that, just a really good human being and an incredible teammate. He's actually a really good friend of mine as well. So yeah, just I want to wish him all the best and whatever lies from after this. Just hope he really enjoys it and has a good time, whatever he does.
Yeah. What was it about him, having probably spent so much time around him, particularly in training, that made him that real, it felt like maverick talent that, it's incredible he only has 2 All-Stars, but maybe that is part of that talent that he had. So much of what you watch today are moments. Like, he had big games, but also, like, you barely watched a game that Diarmuid Connolly played in that you didn't come away with one moment of a highlights reel. What was it when you, from down through the years, that sort of separated him from your average footballer?
Diarmuid just had an unbelievably high skill level. In my opinion, he's all 2-footers and just brilliant, really good athlete. He's not around really top footballer. So the top footballer, they produce really good moments, and that's why Diarmuid obviously had many of them. So that's probably what it was.
Yeah. Was he, like, watching a couple of the Vincent's club games on television, and he just still looked a step apart from the vast majority of club players, as you would expect at this stage? Was he, at club level, the toughest player you would mark in the Dublin Championship?
Certainly up there, yeah. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head. Tough is definitely one of them. Like, we had some Titanic battles. Ballymun and Vincent's, they beat us 3 years in a row. They kind of were our voodoo team or whatever. We couldn't get past them for a few years, and Diarmuid was a huge part of that for them. Like, he was a phenomenal footballer for Vincent's as well. So yeah, definitely one of the toughest.
What's the end result if you did a Conal Keeley style shoulder on Diarmuid Connolly?
I don't know. I'll probably get one back.
Yeah.
On stage.
It'll probably be strange going back in. Obviously, you had a bit of an experience of it earlier in the year under Desi Farrell, but Jack McCaffrey has stepped away as well. It's a straight-up knockout system. Does it feel like you're heading into a very different type of championship from the usual summer run?
No, like, we're just preparing as best we can. It's obviously different because the time of the year and there won't be a crowd there and stuff like that. But we're just really looking forward to it. It's going to be a really big challenge, and we're just going to go out and just try and perform as best we can. Yeah, straight knockout. It's great. It's great. It means you have to perform all the time. So really looking forward to it.
The no crowd aspect of it, like you touched on last Sunday, and it's brilliant for you and the family that your mum is there, and that makes it all the more special. We don't know where we're going to be in crowds come All-Ireland final weekend. And like Colm Kavanagh was on last week with Ger talking about his retirement, and he was asked, it's only 7-8 weeks, would you not just go back again? He was saying, well, he just didn't know if even if you were to win the All-Ireland with nobody there, would it mean as much? Is there any party that thinks about that, of, like, you've seen what it's like winning the 5 in a row, you see what it means, the celebrations, the party, the brilliance of it all, that's probably not going to be there. Is that affecting your thinking on what the season's going to be like at all?
No, not really. Like, it'll be different in terms of like the atmosphere, obviously playing the game, but You do notice the crowd to an extent, but like, you're obviously so focused on the game, you don't, if that makes sense. Obviously the noise will obviously be no noise, and you're probably hearing each other shouting and stuff like that, whereas you can't hear that in Croke Park. But I don't think it'll affect like the quality or standard of the games or anything like that. I just think it'll be a little bit different. But
yeah,
most guys are after getting a taste of it now from the club championship, so they'll be somewhat used to it.
Yeah, you can sort of, I guess, particularly on a big day in Croke Park, you can feign ignorance. I don't think Jim Gavin was much of a roarer and shouter from the sideline, but you could sort of ignore and hear what you wanted to hear at times. Now, is Is it different playing in that atmosphere? You'll have some experience in the club championship where actually you can hear everything. You can hear everything your teammates say to you, but you can also hear everything the oppositioners say to each other. Yeah,
like that's going to be a positive as well. Like, you know, communicating things to guys on the pitch and can be quite a challenge in Croke Park, especially when there's a huge crowd there. Whereas, you know, they'll be able to do that now, so it could be a positive and work in your favour as well.
All right, John, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks a lot for taking the call.
Thanks, Nathan. Thank you. Bye bye.
A hungry feeling came over me stealing.